This video features game footage and New York Giants quarterback profiles post Fran Tarkenton and pre-Phil Simms. From 1972 through 1978, there were quite a few big quarterback trades, along with many changes at quarterback for the Giants. Superstar quarterback Fran Tarkenton's final season with the Giants was 1971. He briefly walked out on the team prior to their first preseason game due to a contract dispute. The season was by far the worst in his 11-year career to date statistically, with only 11 touchdown passes against 21 interceptions. The Giants' 4-win, 10-loss record was their worst since 1966. Tarkenton expressed his desire to play for a winning team and sat out Week 14's game against the Eagles with a trade request. In the second half of Week 13's game, Randy Johnson replaced Tarkenton and took his lumps as he was sacked 3 times. In Week 14, Johnson completed 30 of 47 passes for 372 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 41-28 loss. Tarkenton was traded to the Vikings in a multi-player, multi-draft pick exchange that netted the Giants 33-year-old Norm Snead, who had made 3 Pro Bowl teams with the Redskins and Eagles. He was a passing machine in college at Wake Forest, where he was quoted as saying, "I couldn't run and couldn't get out of my own way, but could throw the football." In 1964, he was included in another big quarterback trade. This time it was Sonny Jurgensen of the Eagles, who had become a Hall of Famer. Snead made the Pro Bowl team after finishing with the 5th most passing yards and 5th most passing touchdowns in the NFL. He also had the 3rd highest passer rating, 84. But 1973 would be a polar opposite season for Snead, as he led the NFL with 22 interceptions, and he only started 7 games. Optimism was sky high for the Giants because they had won all 6 of their preseason games. However, Snead only threw 7 touchdown passes, and his 45.8 passer rating was the worst of the 17 NFL qualifiers. He seemingly grew old overnight, and the Giants as a team suffered through a 2-win, 11-loss, 1-tie record. Snead was benched after Week 6, although he did start the last game of the season against the Vikings. Randy Johnson started the other 7 games and threw 7 touchdowns against 8 interceptions. The Giants released him in September 1974. Head coach Alex Webster was cut free of his duties, and Dolphins defensive coordinator Bill Arnsparger took over. He went from the penthouse to the outhouse because the Giants won only 2 games in 1974. Snead started the first 4 games, threw 3 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Giants offense was so inept that they resorted to quick kicking by running back Steve Crosby, who got off this 60-yarder. Jim DelGazo took the starter steering wheel for 3 games, which were all losses. He had a 15.8 passer rating on the season and didn't play another NFL regular season game after 1974. Green Bay had traded him on September 10, 1974, for a 1977 7th-round draft pick who ended up being guard Darrell Goforth. He played in 116 games over 8 years. That was a terrible trade by the Giants. On October 22, 1974, the Giants swapped their number 1 choice in the 1975 NFL Draft, the 2nd overall, along with their 1976 second-round pick for Cowboys quarterback Craig Morton. He was playing second fiddle to Roger Staubach and had played second fiddle to Dandy Don Meredith from the time that they were teammates from 1965 through 1968. He started in Super Bowl V and started all 14 games in 1972, but after that it was clear that Staubach was the Cowboys' man. The Cowboys selected Randy White with the Giants' first-round pick, and he eventually found a positional home at defensive tackle. He made first-team All-Pro 7 times, finished in the top 3 voting for the Defensive Player of the Year award 5 times, and made the Hall of Fame. Just 5 days after the trade, Morton started against his former team. He completed 11 of 22 passes for 185 yards, 3 interceptions, and 4 sacks. No surprise with those statistics since he couldn't swim and was thrown into the deep end of the pool without a life preserver. He started each game for the remainder of the year. 8 games played, he threw 9 touchdowns with 13 interceptions. The Giants only won 1 game in which he started. The same day that Morton was traded for, Snead was traded away for 1975 third-round draft pick wide receiver Danny Buggs and 1976 fourth-round draft pick running back Gordon Bell. The 1975 Giants had a new helmet logo that was met with mixed reviews. Morton was sacked 47 times in 1975 for 331 yards lost. Both marks were the second highest in the NFL. He started every game, and the Giants improved to 5 wins and 9 losses. Morton had 11 touchdown passes, 16 interceptions, and his 2,359 passing yards were 8th most in the league. Morton said that when he struggled, he felt the vocal wrath of the fans. The Giants got a new home in 1976, but he was sacked 39 times, mostly due to his extremely limited mobility. In Week 6 at Minnesota, Snead started. In Week 5, Snead played after Morton was pulled late in the game against Dallas. After 7 straight losses, John McVay took over as head coach for the canned Bill Arnsparger. In Week 10 against Washington, Norm Snead only completed 3 of 14 passes for 26 yards with 2 interceptions. His passer rating was 0, yet the Giants won the game 12-9. In the 4 games leading up to this one, the Giants had only scored a total of 10 points, and they had started the season with 9 straight losses. At age 37, Snead was definitely showing his age. For the 1976 season, he threw 4 interceptions with no touchdown passes and a dismal 29.9 passer rating. Craig Morton took over as the starting quarterback for the remainder of the season, and he took a lot more heavy hits, as well as insults from the Giants faithful. On March 7, 1977, Morton was traded to the Broncos for quarterback Steve Ramsey and a 1978 fifth-round draft pick. Ramsey didn't have much success in Denver, and he wouldn't experience any in New York either. That's because he never played for them. This was the end of his NFL career as he was released before the start of the 1977 season. The draft pick was wide receiver Brian DeRue, who didn't fare much better. He was released on August 13, 1979, without having caught a pass. This trade would end up being considered a tremendous one for Denver, as Morton finished second in the NFL MVP voting. He also led the Broncos to the Super Bowl and became the first quarterback to start for 2 different teams in the Super Bowl. Norm Snead retired after the 1976 season, and the Giants were left with 3 rookie quarterbacks. One of them was Jerry Goldstein, who was on the injured reserve list for 1976. He started the first 3 games of the 1977 season, but only completed 44.3% of his passes with 2 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He averaged 69.3 passing yards per game. 47 of Goldstein's 123 passing yards in Week 1 came on this Ed Marshall reception. Joe Pisarcik spent 3 years in the Canadian Football League and signed with the Giants as a free agent in May 1977. He completed 1 of 5 passes for 78 yards in Week 3 mop-up duty, and he was sacked 4 times. His first start was in Week 4, and he only completed 12 of 38 passes with 4 interceptions. In Week 6 win against the 49ers, he only threw 6 times for 47 yards, as the Giants ran 41 times for 137 yards. Joe Pisarcik started 12 games for the 6-win, 10-loss 1978 Giants. They were ranked 22nd in passing yards and threw for only 13 passing touchdowns against 27 interceptions. Joe passed for 12 of the touchdowns and 23 of the interceptions. His 52.1 passer rating was ranked 26th out of 27 qualifiers. Pisarcik's muffed handoff in Week 12 against the Eagles will live in infamy for the Giants fans. With a 17-12 lead with less than half a minute remaining in the game, Herman Edwards raced 26 yards for a game-winning touchdown. Randy Dean was a fifth-round draft pick in 1977 out of Northwestern. He only played one game in 1977 and didn't accumulate any statistics. He started 2 games in 1978, threw 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions with a low 39.3 passer rating. In his 2 starts, Jerry Goldstein was even worse. He had a 30% completion percentage and an absurdly low 15.7 passer rating. He was sacked 8 times with only 40 passing attempts, which is almost laughable, much like the majority of the Giants quarterbacking from this era featured.